Let me talk about something real today. Not textbook relationship advice, not therapy language, just real life. I want to talk about what communication breakdown actually feels like because people throw that phrase around like it just means arguments, like it's just a misunderstanding, like it's just we need to talk more. No, communication breakdown feels like grief while the person is still alive. And people who haven't lived it don't understand it. It's not always loud, it's not always yelling. Sometimes it's quiet, sometimes it's polite, sometimes it looks normal from the outside. But inside, you feel alone in the same room. You ever been sitting right next to somebody and still feel by yourself? That's communication breakdown. It feels like you keep explaining yourself, but you're never understood. It feels like conversations turn into tensions. It feels like you're walking on eggshells to avoid another argument. It feels like your thoughts get smaller over time because it's safer not to say them. So you start editing yourself. You start saying, never mind. You start saying, it's okay. You start saying, I don't care. But you do care. You care deeply. You're just tired. And the worst part, you start doubting yourself. You're asking, am I asking too much? Am I being too sensitive? Maybe I'm the problem. Maybe I should just stay quiet. That's not peace. That's survival. Communication breakdown feels like emotional starvation. You're still married, still together, still showing up, still functioning. But emotionally, you're hungry. You want connection. You want softness. You want to feel heard without having to fight for it. You want to feel like your inner world matters to somebody. But instead, you get silence, dismissiveness, defensiveness, or emotional distance. When you are bringing it up, you're told you're doing too much, or you're overthinking, or here you go again, so you stop bringing it up. People on the outside think everything is fine because y'all still together. You still cook. You still sit beside each other. You still show up to events. They don't see the emotional disconnection. They don't see the loneliness. They don't see the weight. Communication breakdown feels like being unseen, like your presence doesn't matter, like your feelings are inconvenient, like your needs come last. So you start doing emotional math. If I say this, it'll start something. If I bring that up, he'll shut down. If I express how I feel, I'll be accused of nagging. So you shallow it, you internalize it, you carry it quietly. And that kind of loneliness is heavy because you're not alone, but you feel abandoned. That's why emotional detachment often starts before physical separation because nobody can live long term without emotional nourishment. Here is something important: communication breakdown isn't just about talking less, it's emotional safety being gone. When communication is healthy, you feel safe to speak. When it's broken, you feel emotionally unsafe. Not physically unsafe, emotionally unsafe. Unsafe to express, unsafe to be vulnerable, unsafe to be honest, unsafe to be seen. So you protect yourself by going quiet. That's not your personality changing. That's your nervous system trying to survive. And over time, that silence turns into distance. That distance turns into resentment. That resentment turns into emotional walls. Eventually, you don't even argue anymore. You just coexist. Roommates, schedules, routines, no depth, no vulnerability, no emotional intimacy, just functioning. And sometimes that hurts more than fighting because fighting means someone still cares enough to engage. Silence feels like nobody is reaching for you anymore. Now, let me be fair. Sometimes communication breakdown isn't about bad intentions. Some people were never taught emotional language. Some people grew up where feelings were ignored. Some people learned to shut down instead of opening up. Some people are carrying unhealed trauma. Some people are emotionally immature, but the pain is still real on the receiving end. You can love someone and still feel lonely with them. You can be loyal and still feel unseen. You can be committed and still feel emotionally disconnected. That's the part people don't talk about enough. Communication breakdown feels like giving emotionally and receiving very little back. It feels like you're constantly adjusting yourself to keep the peace. It feels like you're shrinking instead of growing. And if this resonates with you, hear me clearly. You are not crazy. You are not imagining it. You are not too much. You are a human being with emotional needs. Now, here's the truth: communication breakdown doesn't fix itself, time doesn't heal it, silence doesn't heal it, avoidance doesn't heal it. It either gets addressed or it gets worse. Healthy communication requires emotional maturity, willingness to listen, accountability, humility, respect, effort from both sides. Not one person carrying the emotional labor while the other one stays comfortable. If you're the only one trying, the only one one adjusting, the only one apologizing, the only one reflecting. That's not communication. That's emotional imbalance. And gently, truthfully, you cannot communicate effectively with someone who refuses emotional honesty. You cannot fix communication alone, but you can get clear with yourself, clear about what you feel, clear about what you need, clear about what you will and will not accept emotionally. Because sometimes healing doesn't start with fixing the relationship, it starts with reconnecting to yourself. Communication breakdown often makes you lose your voice. So healing begins when you start hearing yourself again. Your feelings matter. Your voice matters. Your emotional needs matter. Your presence matters. If nobody told you that lately, I'm telling you today. If this resonates, you are not alone. There are many emotionally exhausted people walking around looking fine on the outside while quietly hurting inside. And maybe the first step isn't fixing everything. Maybe the first step is naming the thing. This hurts. This feels lonely. This is not connection. This is communication breakdown. Because once you name it, you stop blaming yourself for it. And that's where healing actually begins. And I want to say this too. There was a season early in my marriage where I felt a lot of what I just described. But I'm grateful we didn't stay there. Growth is possible when two people are willing. That's why I talk about these things, because I've lived both sides. And I would like to say thank you. I appreciate you. And if this is your vibe, please subscribe and follow me for more. Thank you. Good night.